Hey, let's muck around a little bit. Hey, welcome back to the AnKorage where everything is awesome and I want to muck around. I want to mess with stuff. So let's muck around with some hardware today, some computer hardware. So I happen to have here a Compaq CQ62. It was originally a Windows machine, and this is something that my father had bought back in 2009, and he used it until he happened to pass away. And the following year, I got the call to say, hey, to my siblings, come and get what you want, because, it was the pre-part 2, I call it the purge, cleaning out everything, throwing away stuff, deciding what to keep, the usual. So I went and this is one of the things I got. Another thing that I got is back there. It's this thing. I'll have that in a separate video all by itself of sorts. That's my first functional restoration. But like I said, it's a separate video. And so there we go. And so what we're going to talk about today is we're going to muck around with this a little bit. So this was used for some time, and it was used as Windows, and then I switched it over to Linux. It's seen a couple of different distros. It's Linux Mint. It's what was the other one? Probably just straight up Ubuntu or Ubuntu, or however you want to pronounce it. But I'm, it's I did do a somewhat of a Windows restoration on it to get it working as a Windows machine again, and it was used for a little while as that by a family member, and then it was brought back to me, and if I can grab it here, it wouldn't run anymore. And so what I plan to do is I'm going to muck around with it today to get the hardware back to the way it is. This is the hard drive that was in it, and this actually went bad, which turned out to be what the issue was. It ended up with 500 plus bad sectors, so that explains why it wasn't working anymore. So now it does still work, it just ignores those sectors. So it can still be used and such like that. So, but I'm just going to keep it as a spare off to the side, and just, things like that. Instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this guy in it. This is a Team Group GX2, SATA hard drive, but this is an SSD, solid state drive. So instead of having a spinning disk inside of it like this one, which I nickname as a platter drive because, it's got the little spinning platters, an older style, reliable, but this is nothing but chips. So, and the performance of an SSD is far greater, is far greater than one of these drives. So I'm going to take this, and I'm going to put this into the computer, and in another video I'm going to be trying to install Linux Mint Debian Edition, which I happen to have right here on this little guy, little USB stick. This is what I used to do my main machine, and I left the ISO burnt on here, and I just keep it off to the side. If I ever need it again, I've got it right here. So I've got that. So why don't we get in there and muck around with this a little bit. I'm going to switch over to my cell phone to do that, and so this will go away and we'll get a full screen from the phone. So the phone camera. So there we go. Excuse me. So we'll pick it up with that, and so let's dive in. Okay, so here we have that laptop, and for network purposes I named it Atlantia, which is based off of Battlestar Galactica. So here's the underside of it here. This is the release for the battery, which is there. We're gonna go here. Got my little screwdriver, and we undo these screws like so. Got my little separator. Try to. Try it again. Okay. That's loose. That's loose. There we go. Alright. So here we go. Here's the inside. So here is where the drive goes. So we can just pull that up. Oop. Usually. Oh yeah, it's actually screwed down. Forgot about that. Okay, and we got that, and then we can pull this up, and there we go. Alright. So from here, here's the plug for it. So I'm going to get the drive. I had put it aside. This is the connector, so line these up, put it in like that, and then we'll place it back down in there. Get this back over it like so. Then we'll put these screws back in. Okay. Then we put the cover back on.
So looking good here. Let's try.
So there, it's back in, and now originally I was going to prepare this for recycling. I was going to be bringing it to a local Best Buy for recycling. That's why I took that drive out, partly because I thought it was dead, and then I determined it was the those sectors. So I may have taken out the RAM as well, so I'm going to double check to make sure if they're in there or not. Excuse me. Okay, the RAM sticks are still in here. I'll show you what those look like. Like that. Now when this machine was first bought, it only had 2 gigs of RAM. That's this stick here. This is an additional 2 gigs that my father had to buy so that he could use a speech recognition thing so that he could dictate it and record what he says in text. Alright, so I'll put this back in. Okay, now that's done. Now this battery, it's a new battery that I had bought just before it went kaplooey, but it's dead right now because it's been offline for a couple of years. So what I'm going to do is I actually had to purchase a new recharger cable because, like I said, this was supposed to be recycled, and but since it's not anymore, well, I had thrown out that cable before, so I did have to order up a new one. So I've got one on order, and that is coming in. And there we go. Everything is all back together. It's all nice and happy. Here we go. So that was mucking around with the Atlantia, the Compact CQ62, and getting the solid state drive installed and double checking to make sure that the RAM sticks were still in there. I should have taken them out when I went to recycle it, but I've got a whole handful of these RAM sticks from different laptops and stuff like that over the years. So if I had taken it out, I was more than likely going to be able to replace it. So, but this is, you know, it's an older unit. It's from 2009, and it's only capable of 4 gigs of RAM altogether. So there's that. It's got a little it's got a CD-ROM on it. Even you don't find those on laptops today off new ones. You know, you might still be able to on occasion, but in general, not so much. So I'm going to put this down. And so that is this edition of MUCKQuest. So we mucked around with a piece of hardware, and we did that work. Got a hard drive, a solid state put into it, and made sure the RAM was good. So in the next video, we're actually going to do the part where I'm actually going to put Linux Mint into the unit. So that's how we're going to do that. So I want to thank you for coming along. Subscribe if you wish, and if you wish to throw a little donation to help support the channel, throw in some crypto. And you know, I take Dogecoin because it's a joke, and I take Monero because it's Monero. So there we go. So if you enjoyed it, please give it a like, and you know, say something down below. And I'm going to do QR Corner a little differently. So if you happen to see this, then down in the comments below, tell me what it says or does or whatever. Just tell me what it is. Or, you know, if you don't want to bother with that, just give me a pine tree in the comments. So to let me know you got this far. So I'd like to thank you very much for coming along. It was a lot of fun. And we'll muck around with something else in the future. So, and so next up will be the next edition of MUCKQuest for the Atlantia, as we try to get Tux working on it. So come on back, and we'll talk to you later. Skál.